G'day guys, welcome to another edition of Aussie Boxing Talk, the show that literally punches you straight between the eyes. I'm your host, your old mate, Big J, and today we're going to be talking about the debacle that is, well, two things. Skye Nicholson's fall from grace, not that she was really ever at the top of the first place, and Matchroom puts on another debacle full of one-sided mismatches that just shows that Eddie Hearn has absolutely no idea what the fuck he's doing. And without Turkey Al Sheik, Eddie Hearn can't get anything done. Because he doesn't have the finances. And, without Turkey Al Sheik's money, Matchroom cards are just woeful. So last night, it was Skye Nicholson's return to Brisbane, her hometown. She had a fighting for a vacant IBF, I think international title, intercontinental title, I don't really care. Some IBF vacant title against an absolute tomato can of a fighter, and it was all over in 2 rounds. I mean, what a joke. I mean, the opponent was shocking. Skye hit her in the second round in the belly. She had that 3 or 4 second delay where she went down, crunched over, turned her back to Skye. Skye was going to run up and actually hit her, and then she stopped herself, and then she actually hit her with her back turned to I think the last girl's name was Singh, obviously an Indian girl, and turned her back, and Skye hit her in the back, not at the back of the head, but hit her in the face with her back turned to Skye, hit her 3 more times, and the ref stopped it. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's dirty fucking fighting. If you hit an opponent with their back turned to you, even if you hit them in the face, right, that's cheap shotting. Even though the ref says at the start of the fight, protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times, protect yourself at all times. You're in a fucking fight. You should never turn your back. If they turn the back, they should just wave the fight off. Like, you turn your back, fight's over. That's it. Because as much as I blame the Singh girl for turning her back, I blame Skye for smacking someone with their back turned, even though she did hit her in the face, right? Because it's the punches you don't see coming that are more destructive, if that makes sense. And of course, the ref for not stopping Skye from doing it. It was a bloody disgrace. So Skye in another one-sided mismatch. She actually made the weight this time. I think she made the weight pretty comfortably. I think 122 was the limit. She weighed about 121 something, so she made the weight comfortably. Obviously now she's going to be looking at fighting decent competition, but she's fought nothing but tomato cans. And I said this on T Street. Tiara Brown was the one and only fighter that Skye actually fought decent. I mean, featherweight division is like the featherweight division for women is like the cruiserweight division for men. It's just, there's just nothing there besides the champion, which is Amanda Serrano. There's just nothing there. And Amanda's holding up the entire division while holding onto all these belts, while there's all these other women that could be having fights. So I think Amanda needs to give up, if she hasn't already, give up all those featherweight titles so that other girls can have a crack at world titles. So, it's a bit of a shit show. And, the main event was Jake Wiley, who you'll recall fought George Kambosos Jr. earlier in the year. Early in the year? Or was it last year? No, it might have been in March. Was it in March? I can't remember. Anyway, he fought Jake. Actually, I think he did. He fought Jake Wiley earlier in the year. Eddie promised him a headliner show. And, of course, he fights Yusuf Dib at 140. And Yusuf Dib is not a 140er. He's a lightweight, even a 130er. They put on a good show. Jake Wiley got the UD. So, unanimous decision. Apparently, Jake Wiley did quite well. There's some good shots in there. The Skye fight was a fucking joke. Another tomato can that Skye blasts out of there inside of friggin' 2 rounds. What a bloody disgrace. I mean, and then you've got Alex Leopai in another 30-second one-sided mismatch. I mean, he's only 4 or 5 fights in, but, stop giving these guys dead men and actually give them proper competition. To be fair, once you get up around 10, those dead men really should start disappearing. Like 7 to 10 fights, start disappearing all these dead men and start giving them good competition. Because Turamoya, he's the same, the Olympian. He's only fighting tomato cans and blasting them out of the round. And it doesn't do these guys any justice. Feeding them dead men and getting them 30-second fights and one-sided mismatches does not do them anything. It doesn't teach them how to take on adversity. It doesn't teach them how to harden up. It's just like, walk in there, kid, smash this kid, and away you go. And they all think they're fucking a young Mike Tyson. And what happens when they find someone that can actually fight, they get the living shit kicked out of them. Like I said, with no limit, doing the same thing with Nikita. They're feeding him, well, actually, to be fair, Nikita's actually fought some pretty good competition, but the last guy they gave him, a one-sided mismatch, what a joke. So, it's the same with Zarafa. They're feeding him all these one-sided mismatches, and, it's going to feed his head full of bullshit, and when they finally get over there to a decent opponent, they get their asses kicked. And Alex Leopold Jr. is going to be the same story. Yeah, he might be he'll blast a low-level competition out of there, but the second he comes up against an international opponent, he'll get his ass handed to him. So, they really need to start. Matchroom is doing, well, No Limit is doing what Matchroom has been doing ever since. Eddie, every time I think Eddie, I think Eddie Maguire. Sorry, apologies, Eddie Maguire. But any Australian knows, you hear the name Eddie, most people would think of Maguire, especially in Victoria. So Eddie Hearn has absolutely no idea what he's doing because he's put on all these shows and they've all just been shit. I mean, Paro versus Brock Jarvis wasn't me. Everyone thought that would be a good competitive fight, and Paro blasted him out of there in 90 seconds. And they didn't give us the fight which we wanted, which was Stevie Spark versus Liam Paro. That will go down as probably one of the top contended fights in Australian boxing history never to happen on a domestic level. There's plenty of fights out there that has never happened on a world level, like Sam Solomon versus Daniel Gill, for an example. Danny Green versus Sabio Binka. Danny Green versus Sam Solomon. There's lots of fights out there that have never happened, but over the most recent years, besides Zoo and Zarafa, I would put Paro versus Stevie Spark as a very close second as one of the biggest fights that never happened that should have. And Stevie Spark's retired, and now he's doing real estate, but apparently I heard he's coming back. But anyway, that's getting off topic. Skye. Let's get back on to Skye. Skye is bloody dreadful. I've always said she was a bloody dreadful fighter, and the only reason, that anyone notices her is that she's in this alleged relationship with Eddie. Now, do I care they're in a relationship? No, I could not give a rat's ass that they're in a relationship together. None of my business. None of anyone's business. That's only Eddie's and Skye's business, right? But for the credibility of Skye, right, it shoots at the shit. Because, Eddie's just protecting her. But then again, she lost to Tiara Brown. As I said, the only person in the featherweight division that could test Skye Nicholson was Tiara Brown, and Skye faltered. She lost the title, and she hasn't got a rematch. She's dropped down to 122. So Skye's fall from grace continues to happen because she's not even headlining card. She's the co-main event. She's gone from being a world fucking champion, right, to very quickly being a co-feature on a friggin' club show in Brisbane in front of 1,000 people. So she's going from fighting in Vegas in front of thousands of people to fighting, club level shows in Brisbane in front of 1,500 people in, I don't know where the fight was. I think it was Fortitude Valley or wherever it was in Brisbane. Yeah, Eddie was there, but who cares? So, what a fall from grace from Skye Nicholson. And how quick did that happen? She loses the title, bang. She's down with the fringe contenders again, down on the club shows, fighting nobody while she was fighting tomato cans as a world champion. So, yeah, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting that how quickly Skye Nicholson falls from grace. And to be perfectly honest, most women's fighters do. Once they lose, they fall from grace. Especially in Australia, because Australians really don't care about women's boxing, which is a shame. Because, look at this. I think her name is Caitlin Parker, the girl that won a bronze for the middleweight at the Olympics. She hasn't even had a fight yet. Oh, I think she has, but she got picked up by someone else. No one cares about what she's doing, and she's the first and only woman to win an Olympic medal. And no one cares what she's doing. Nikita Zoo gets chucked on a $60 paywall, but no one cares about what Caitlin Parker's doing. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway, but the only good saving grace about this DAZN card is that it wasn't put behind a pay-per-view paywall. It was just part of the subscription. And when the DAZN first came in, it was $3. This was maybe a couple of years back. It was $3. Now it's like $30. So $30 subscription per month, and this is the bullshit they're putting out. I mean, the commentary was terrible. The one thing I always praise No Limit for, and this is really not No Limit, it's more Main Event, because Main Event are the broadcaster of No Limit events. The production level in the commentary is always pretty solid. Pretty solid. But the commentary last night on that Matchroom show is just woeful. The production value was just woeful. It's awful. I mean, you could tell this was just a club show run out of the back of a pub somewhere, or wherever it was. I'm not even quite sure where it was, somewhere in Brisbane. And besides the commentator, which is Stephen Panetta, I think his name is. Oh, sorry, Steve, I've pronounced your name wrong. Besides the ring announcer, that show is garbage for production value and content value, because, these Matchroom shows, and Tasman Fighters and Ace Boxing, they always have B and sometimes arguably A content on C and D value productions, where No Limit is C grade C grade content on A grade productions. But as I said in my other video the other day, if No Limit continue to throw on these one-sided mismatches where their fighters blast people out of it in 30 seconds and have the audacity to charge $60, people are going to go, I don't want to pay for this shit no more. And they won't. And the DAZN, who remember owns now 65% of Foxtel, will go, well, you guys aren't supplying us with decent content. No one buying this stuff anymore. Goodbye. We'll source other content providers to give us what we want. So Matchroom. I mean, despite Eddie Hearn I don't think he's really trying. He's not trying at all. But Matchroom shows are just garbage. Without Turkey Ali Sheik, the Matchroom shows are just garbage because they don't have the funds of Turkey Ali Sheik. But having said that, the one in New York they did was bloody garbage too. So, Jake Wiley, he was the main event, beating Yusuf Dib. That's not going to do him any favours. It's not going to give him a world title shot anytime soon. So what's that do for him? Yeah, it moves him up in the rankings. He got a vacant title or something. I'm not quite sure what title they fought for. That's not going to do anything for him. I think Eddie's just, done this as, okay, I promised you a headline show. You've headlined. Okay, now, I've done my part. See you later. Skye, she's just going to keep dropping. I mean, as quickly as she became the champion, as quickly as she sunk. I mean, she's 13-1. I don't think you'll see her fight more than 20 fights. I think after 20 fights, she'll be done. I don't think you'll see her have a fight record longer than 20 fights. I really don't, because she just keep on fighting these women that she beats in 2 rounds and they're all one-sided mismatches. People just aren't going to watch those. Like, where's the excitement? I mean, the reason why Katie Taylor and Samantha Serrano are the 3 biggest fights in female boxing history is because they were competitive. They weren't one-sided mismatches. They were tit for tat, especially the first fight. I still say I think the first fight was better than all the other 2. So, because you thought their man had blasted Katie, but Katie came back. So, I mean, no one wants to see one-sided mismatches. People want to see competitive fights. But, Matchroom really has no idea what they're doing because they don't know what the Australian market's like, because putting a show on a Saturday night, kicking off at 8 o'clock, when there's footy on, AFL and NRL. Remember, this is August. This is we're starting to get to the business side of things. We're in round 25 of the NRL. And the NRL is probably putting on some of the best games we've seen all year. I mean, Penrith and Canberra was probably game of the year. Storm and Bulldogs was a competitive match. Okay, the Rabbitohs flogged the Dragons 40-0, but you always get at least one flog in a week. Manly took care of, who'd they beat? I don't really give a fuck. I think the Dolphins. Warriors beat Titans at home. There was another game in there. I don't know. Don't really care. And today we've got the Cowboys versus the Tigers, which will be a competitive game because last time the last 4 games have been 70-something points scored each game. And I think the last 2 games were both teams. I think Tigers flogged Cowboys 72-0, then Cowboys returned the favour and flogged them 74-0. So for boxing, which is a very niche sport in the first place, to go up against that sort of quality rugby league and AFL, because AFL's in round 24, I think, where they're getting to the business side of the footy season, there's no point having any fight cards because no one gives a shit. Why would I pay $60 and watch Nikita Zoo blast some bloke I can't even pronounce in 90 seconds while I could put the football on and watch a competitive game for free? Because it's on free-to-air television. Why would I waste $60 on that shit? So, yeah. No Limit need to be cautious about what they're doing. Matchroom, I think they should just give up. I mean, try harder, Eddie. You're really not core to the Australian market. You need to try a lot bloody harder. Club shows is not where it's at, mate. You need to bring the big fights to Australia. If you want to make a name for yourself in Australia, you need to bring the big fights to Australia, right? I mean, you've got Jai Pataya. Get him in a decent fight against people that aren't tomato cans. Now, he's fighting his mandatory. Sin Cara, old mate, who got injured in January, he's come around again. I don't have a problem with that because he's mandatory. So hopefully they make a big deal about that and get some decent fighters on that card. Even they have to go to No Limit and say, can we borrow some of your fighters for a card here? So they have some decent fights instead of these one-sided mismatches. Jai's the same. No one's going to keep on watching Jai if he's fighting one-sided mismatches and blasting these guys out of there in 3 rounds. They're fighting guys that shouldn't even be in the ring with him. I know the cruiserweight division is weak as piss, right? Like the featherweight division for females, the cruiserweight division is weak as piss, but come on, get him something. Get him someone half decent. I mean, there's Floyd Masson. There's other guys. There's the IBO champion he could fight. The African fella that beat Floyd Masson. There's a few half decent guys out there he can fight. So anyway, but Skye Nicholson. I mean, not really ever really been a fan of her. I mean, never had a problem with her. She wasn't like Ebony and just doing it to promote her OnlyFans, or Shanika that, did the same thing, just not on the same level. I would welcome a Shanika versus Shannon, I've just run a blank. Skye fight. But I don't think Shanika's going to move up to 122. Why would she? She's got all the belts at 118. I don't think Skye could make 118. Shannon O'Connell wants to fight Skye. Why? I don't think that would do anyone any favours. I mean, if Skye loses, it kills off her career. If Shannon beats her, it's like, well, okay. Yeah, righto. So, anyway, I think that's it for this video, guys. Like and subscribe. Share, follow, all that sort of good stuff. As always, tackle the ball, the rest of the clock, harden yourselves a fuck up, and have yourselves a great day.